Good morning from the Republic of Philippines, my good patriotic sons and daughters of IBUSA. I am your most patriotic son, Dr. Mwankwo Anthony Ukoboshimwezigwe, the ODOGWU of IBUSA clan. I am your ODOGWU by the grace of IBUSA customs and tradition. I am your ODOGWU by the grace of IBUSA native law and custom. I am your ODOGWU by the grace of government Midwest State Government Declaration on the selection, appointment, and conferment of ODOGWU IBUSA title, which is still applicable under the present Delta State. I am your ODOGWU by the grace of the provisions of Delta State Traditional Rulers Council and Chiefs Edict of 1998 as amended. In continuation of my presentation on the forged government white paper that produced the OBUZOR of IBUSA, the throne on which Obi Professor Louis Chelon is presently sitting on. I'm going to touch on part 4 of it. But in this part 4, I'm going to look at the content of that declaration, that Midwest Region Declaration on the appointment and conferment of ODOGWU IBUSA title. I'm presenting it here, although there are a lot of matters arising from my previous presentations, but our main focus today is that declaration, because most people want to know the actual content of that declaration, so that when I'm presenting my facts, they will follow in situ. Well, let me look at one aspect. Let me just look at one major matter arising from my previous from my previous presentation. Somebody asked me, what do we do to stop the rampaging of cultists in IBUSA? And my simple answer is that the current executive chairman of Oshimiri North local government area, who is a certified cultist and leader of the cultists in IBUSA, should be told to call his boys to order. That is a simple thing. Ese was an honorable, innocent Ese was a chairman of Oshimiri North local government area, should call his boys to order, and IBUSA will be at peace. It's not a question of, for example, the last killing in IBUSA was done by somebody he also nominated as part of the so-called vigilante, anti-court vigilante in IBUSA. Shot somebody, a true son of IBUSA, live and direct, on daybreak. And the next thing he did was to go to the family and we are sorry. And just as Fred as Ajidua will often say those days, when I was close, or career and the family 1 million, and police when the wars come to us, we give the family 1 million naira and then give the police money, and the whole thing will end up. And the person, somebody who is dead is dead. I remember during as a youth, as a teenager growing up in IBUSA in the 70s and 80s, we had only one such incident of an IBUSA son killing a fellow IBUSA son. And that was, I can't remember the actual, but it was in this, I don't know if the class I was in my secondary school, but I was in secondary school, and that was at the height of disco, and at that time we had 2 major halls being run by Edinwo Kobia. You have Embo and you have his Isabella on the Isikisi Road, where we paid and we came to dance on weekends as students. And that was when Akbadomonye Okobi from Umisaba used his dagger and murdered Agri, son of Okogu, Agri Okogu from Umuadafe, at Isabella Theater. It had never happened. That was the first time it happened in our lifetime. And we knew how IBUSO handled it that moment. That single action ended every disco activity in IBUSO. Isabella Theater was closed. Embo was closed because of that single mother. Agri was the only son of his father, a popular primary school teacher and headmaster, ODOGWU. And of course, his death hastened the death of his father. Akpedemunye, on the other side, ironically, was the son of one of the most respected, humble citizens of IBUSO, a Christian, a Catholic to the core, Mr. Timothy Okobi. And for such an act to have been undertaken by his son was a heavy blow, not only to the man, but to the Catholic Church. And of course, Akpedemunye first was convicted of manslaughter, and then sent to prison. And because of it, I don't think since then I've set my eyes on Akpedemunye. Because of that action, Akpedemunye simply on his own accord exiled himself from IBUSO. He's married. He has children in Lagos. They hardly would anybody see him stepping into IBUSO because of that act of murdering a son of IBUSO. But I can't count the number of people who have been killed between 2020 and the present, and the killers, sons of IBUSO, are moving freely. Never happened during our time. All I'm telling a sales is that, well, you are in government today. Tomorrow, you will not be in government because power is transient. Yesterday, Erofai, Malami Abubakar, they were colossus within the federal government. Today, they are resting in prison custody. So whatever power you occupy, you must think about the future. What will happen to me by the time I leave this seat? And to those sons of IBUSO who are following, it's either you're following him to get your own national cake from the local government allocation, or you are out of the game. Because at the appropriate time, they say, we will abandon you people. He has bought a house in the United States of America, and we flee. Even though the world is a global village, if the government wants him, they will still get him back. But what I'm saying, point blank, is that a Sewezer should call his boys to order so that there will be no courtesan in IBUSO. The second matter arising is people were asking me, how do we play down the issue of forgery of the white paper? Since it's becoming embarrassing. It's not a question of becoming embarrassing. It can be more embarrassing than the tales of 419 activism in IBUSO. So discovering forgery is even more, it's even honorable, it's even an honorable venture than supporting 419. Something that pushed IBUSO's reputation to the lowest ebb in Nigerian history. And you are telling us something that has been blown open. Our people will say, you can't cover a mature pregnancy with your bare hand. It is left to the government of Delta State. It is left for His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Delta State, to take proactive action to bring the issue in question before justice. Because if it is not done, the impunity will continue. And in fact, I'm advising the Delta State government that from now, all those artificial traditional chieftaincy that are being created like OBUZOR, like Iguan of Okpanam and other ones from Ndukwa, those artificial traditional relations, before they ascend the throne, you should send them to either a refresher course, not really, and send them to internship to one of the established monarchies in our area, in our normal area. You can send that to the Obi of Abo. You can send that to the Obi of Abo. You can send that to the Obi of Iselugu. You can send that to the Obi of Abo. And other historical established monarchies, so that they learn the proper etiquette of traditional governance. Not trying to create more problem than they were appointed to correct. They should go into that internship to understand between traditionalism and modernity, and to look at how various established monarchies in data states are managing their affairs with adequate, customarily guided checks and balances that sustain state of not only tranquility but stability within respective traditional kingdoms. But for the case of OBUZOR, the government has to do something, because forgery is forgery. There is no statute bar. There's no statute limitation over forgery. If the government, out of political reasons, are trying to delay, they can hand it over to the chairman of Delta State Traditional Rulers Council. His Royal Majesty, Major General Felix Mujakberu, Urua the First Orojo of Okpe, who can handle it, because with his military background, he will not look at any person on the face. His position there should, try to imbibe discipline, traditional discipline, and respect on the traditional institution of Delta State. And as a historian, I've read his exploits as a Komo commander, also as a worker in Enugu State. I've also had not so close, but I monitored his activities when he was general officer commanding 82 Division. Enugu, at that time, my kinsman, Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Nzekwa, was the commander of a physical training unit of the division. So I know what he can do. So that is by the way. So that fact has been established. The white paper that established the OBUZOR of IBUSA is forged. And government should immediately take proactive action. The prime has established the prima facie case, which is open. With the prima facie case, OBUZOR should be suspended. Obi prosecution should be suspended forthwith. And further investigations can now bring people like Izawu and others up to face the wrath of the law. And I still demand any IBUSA man who is not in support of what I'm saying, that the white paper was forged, let that person come up with those reasons and present before the public. Otherwise, I take it that it is a consensus of the entire IBUSA people that that white paper is forged and remain forged. And for that reason, the OBUZOR institution should be suspended forthwith, pending when IBUSA decide in one accord to adopt the system that is suitable for their normal development as a community, historical community, known for their own valor and known for their own intrepidity in all spheres of life. That is by way of the two matters that arose from my previous presentation. Now, let me go to the crux of the matter, and we are now talking about the form. In my last presentation, I was able to read in part, analyze in part, the flashpoints of forgery in the white paper. I will leave this historical aspect later, but right away, with popular demand, I'm going to read the so-called, it's not so-called, but I'm going to read the repeatedly quoted declaration on ODOGWU title. So the people should know what I'm quoting about. This is a declaration. This is a declaration. And you can see the signature here. This is certified copy of a certified true copy from the Deputy Governor's office. A courtesy of Ken, Mr. Ken, I thank him so much. Mr. Ken was secretary to Barrister Ogana, who was my lawyer. Then later, Ogana from Okbana, Mr. Ken, his secretary, was able to procure this certified true copy on my behalf, and I thank him so much. And you can see this certified true copy was issued on 9th of March 2010. And it was signed by P.O. Esejo, Mrs. Director, Chieftaincy Affairs, Deputy Governor's Office, Asaba. Price paid 300 naira. And paid VAT. The receipt number or the treasury receipt number, that TR number of payment is 0043 53516. So this is it from Deputy Governor's Office. Now let me go through it just so that people will know the trajectory of my argument and also clearly define the fourth line of OBUZOR's traditional misdemeanor. Or it's not even a misdemeanor, serious crime. It's a serious crime, serious usurpation of authority, because when you act against the law, it is not a misdemeanor. It's an act of criminality. So it is titled Form of Ruling House Declaration. Declaration made under Section 4, Subsection 2 of the Chief's Law, 1959, of the customary law regulating the selection of the ODOGWU of IBUSA. Title: the ODOGWU of IBUSA. 1. There are 2 ruling quarters, and the identity of each such ruling quarter is: A. Omeze ruling quarter, last ruler. B. Ezuku ruling quarter. Then going to 2, he said the order of rotation in which the respective ruling quarters are entitled to provide candidates to fill successive vacancies in the chieftaincy shall be: 1. Ezuku quarter. 2. Omeze ruling quarter. Ezuku ruling quarter, Omeze ruling quarter, second, last ruler. Then we go to Measure 3. That is paragraph 3 now. It says the persons who may be proposed as candidates by a ruling quarter entitled to fill a vacancy in the chieftaincy shall be any male person who is a member of the ruling quarter and is considered suitable by the members of the ruling quarter. In the event of there being no suitable candidate from the partner side of the ruling quarter, the chieftaincy shall devolve on the next ruling quarter. Any person who is satisfactorily proved to have committed an act of abomination shall be disqualified as a candidate for the chieftaincy. Paragraph 4. Kingmakers. There is only one kingmaker, and he is known by the title of Diokpa of the ruling quarter. Paragraph 5. The mode of nomination by each ruling quarter is as follows. The ruling quarter whose turn it is to provide a candidate for the chieftaincy shall nominate at a family meeting to be summoned and presided over by the Diokpa of the quarter. A candidate for the for the Diokpa of the quarter of the candidate of the chieftaincy. After the selection of the candidate has been made, it shall be presented to the ODOGWU, the 2 Diokpa of the 2 ruling quarters, for recognition, not confirmation, for recognition. The candidate is then led by the Diokpa of the ruling quarters to the house of the late ODOGWU to collect the paraphernalia, instruments of his title, which are Apripa and Ikenga. Now there are two other for ESA and Owolo. They only have Ikenga, but what differentiates them from the from the ODOGWU is Apripa. And I said Apripa is a wooden platform in which in olden days were affixed scores of human head killed in war. But presently, the one they handed over to me was actually the one fixed with animal heads like chimpanzee, monkey, dog, and ram, and so on. So that is Apripa. The candidate shall then be presented to the Ukwele. The candidate shall then be presented to the Ukwele high priest for chalking. The candidate shall be proclaimed the ODOGWU of IBUSA, having stayed in a customary conclave for 24 days by the Obus. So it's not just chalking and so on and so forth. This is just a summary of the processes that are involved in the conferment of ODOGWU of IBUSA title. It is deeper than this. It's not just 20. I spent 45 days in all. Plus. Paragraph 6. The identity of any other person whose consent, let me repeat this paragraph 6. The identity of any other person whose consent is required to an appointment made by the kingmaker, and the usage regulating the granting or withholding such such consent not applicable. Now let's go to page 3. Made by the Chieftaincy Committee of the Aniocha District Council, which has been designated as a competent council by Western Nigerian laws of Nigeria, Section 22 of 1959, signed by the chairman and secretary of the committee this 19th day of February 1974. His Highness OBUZOR the First, Chairman, Chieftaincy Committee, Aniocha District Council. ROI Abuhulimen, Secretary, Chieftaincy Committee, Aniocha District Council. CTC of Original, P.O. Esejo Mrs. Director, Chieftaincy Affairs, Deputy Governor's Office, Asaba. 300 naira paid. VID, Treasury Receipt 004 353 516 of 9th March 2010. That is the authentic document that legalizes the selection, appointment of ODOGWU and conferment of ODOGWU IBUSA title. But beyond this fact, there are other strict rules that are involved. For example, if you have a record of engaging in any criminal act, like stealing, like cheating, and so on and so forth, you will be excluded from that title. And in fact, let me even make it clear how I became the ODOGWU of IBUSA. Because the point is that the tradition is that as long as ODOGWU is alive, if abdicates, the ODOGWU title remains in the ruling quarter. They have to get. So when Sir Fideli FC Wens abdicated the title, IBUSA told Esuku to get another ODOGWU title, another candidate for the ODOGWU title. 2, 3 people were nominated. They were disqualified. Not for stealing normally, not for committing abomination. But for the reason that One of them was an accounts clerk in a company. And as he was stealing money, he was giving it to one of his brothers, keeping. And the other one was also given to the other person. And because of that, that one was sacked from his job. And Ezekwu Quarter considered that as theft. And for that reason, they were disqualified. And when it became a serious problem, Ezekwu had to go for divination. And divination told them that the person who will be the authentic ODOGWU of IBUSA, after seeing Wednesday, was still in school, and his father is still alive, and he cannot take he will not take the title. And they came and announced me. At that time, I was just entering my second year at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. My father did not tell me, but it was my mother when I came by, my mother was telling me that my father was saying that if the village, were wishing him death by nominating his son to be ODOGWU. That was how it happened. And that was how Clement Nwanze was now called to hold ODOGWU. And we know what is ODOGWU, which is regency, holding it on behalf of somebody. And that was when the time I got mature to take the title, my people invited Clement Nwanze to hand over the title as ODOGWU. The president of OBUZOR said no, that having stayed so long as an ODOGWU, as a regent, he with his authority as prescribed authority has converted it into substantive position. That is the issue. And we're talking about theft. Look, okay, let us look at Omeze quarters, where the so-called Charlie Okonkwo, OBUZOR's ODOGWU came from, where OBUZOR himself came from. If you steal a single fowl, you will not be buried. Just as in my village, a single fowl, if you steal a single 1 naira, you will not be accorded customary burial in Omeze quarters. Of course, recently, even some people who killed stray cows, ravaging their own crops, and they decided to kill it inside the farmland. The people branded them thieves. Cows, stray cows. The people branded them thieves. That is for Omeze for you. Now, you look at the person they are bringing out as ODOGWU to take my place. Charlie Okonkwo. Charlie Okonkwo has never worked in any legally organized business outfit or corporate organization or whatever. At least I have my record as a civil servant. From civil servant to the university, from university, I became an academic at the university. But he cannot, all he did was 419. And what is 419? Theft. You can't tell me that somebody who engaged in stealing, in defrauding another person, cannot be described, cannot be qualified as a thief. And you are giving such person an exalted title like ODOGWU of IBUSA, and even dancing, gathering tired clubbing uniform women to be clapping. So these are the issues we have to, when you are now talking about the moral question behind the conduct of OBUZOR. This is essentially that the same OBUZOR gave Akuluno of IBUSA wealth that returned to IBUSA. Wealth from which source? And later, he also, the same OBUZA also removed him from the title. I have the letter. I have all the documents. Even before saying, oh, you are not the ODOGWU, he has not even written to the public, oh, that dismissal, I've cancelled it. So the man remains dismissed by Professor Chelino Nobosh as a colonel. So these are some moral questions we have to ask. If IBUSO has to develop in the positive way as it used to be, without caring whose ox is God, let us be proactive. Let us be objective. Let us not dance to the dance of people like Izebu. Izebu has never been a positive face of IBUSO. Austin Izebu. I'm not saying it. He knows me. He has never shown any positive this thing. Izebu worked with the former OWL of IBUSO, Chief Willie Kolodo, as his manager in his cleaning company in Lagos, Patovik, and embezzles his money. He sacked him. Izebu became advisor to Fred Ajido before he manipulated himself to now become commissioner under Kefas, Navy Captain Kefas. Or be not Navy Captain, Group Captain Kefas, sorry. And what did he do? Number one, forgery of the white paper that produced the most disorganizing traditional institution ever in the history of IBUSO, called OBUZOR. Then Kefas Way, Kefas Park. He appropriated that Kefas. That land belonged to my grandmother's, jointly by my grandmother's family, Umosowe, and Agetue family. Of course, my grandmother's family leases it to Agetue family. That Kefas, he took it. The government took it without paying them a dime. Whereas records show that Kefas government paid Izebu 90 million naira at that time for appropriating the Kefas Park. And none of the original owners was given a dime. And we think that if whatever idea, whatever project, whatever system, this kind of man brought to IBUSO, we see the light of day. It's not possible because it's based on fraud. The only good thing about Izebu is his wife. One of the best ladies I've ever seen in IBUSO. Humble, unassuming, hardworking, unconcerned. Even when under serious pressure from Izebu's reckless trauma, social trauma, she still remained calm. The daughter of a same one from Idumo and Obo. That is the only good thing about Izebu, that gift of a wife. Outside that, there's nothing. It's not a straightforward person. You can never see, Izebu can never tell you yes, and it is yes. I see him talking chameleonic style, stylishly, slowly, as if he's the most intelligent. That is where he will, sugar-coated mouth. Because underneath that sugar-coated mouth is the venom, viper's venom. That's the same man that forged that document to us. That document for IBUSO people. And unless that document is put in its proper place, IBUSO will continue to have its own problem. Because there's no special IBUSO person, no important IBUSO person that supported that OBUZOR institution till their death. Anaza, Dr. Anaza, former commissioner under Ibru, OWL of IBUSO, died without supporting it. Chief Celestine Okobi, Ezemesa, died without supporting it. The Honorable Paul Mori died without supporting the OBUZOR. Let me even say the retired naval chief of naval officer of Nigeria, Delo Izoba, his father and his uncle, his father's younger brother, did not support OBUZOR till their death. In fact, the entire OBUZOR, the only two families that supported OBUZOR, Mwajebue family, just one single Mwajebue family, and then the Adigwe family, some few people in Adigwe family. Only in the time Omeze. Are you talking of Umogu? Are you talking of Omeze? Successful Diokbas, Diokbokoma and Diokba Mengwa, Diokbas of Omeze, I worked under, who later became the Diokba of IBUSA. They never worked with OBUZOR, they never supported OBUZOR. All the successive leaders of Umunese, Obiobeke, Obiayo, and then Obiechia, Obiechia, never supported OBUZOR. In fact, when Obiobeke died, OBUZOR even gave order that it should not be buried, so you don't have any rights. Because he was always also interfering. The white people stated clear that the Synod should be in charge of bans on marriages and or bans on a traditional like burial and so on. And he delved into it. Even at a point, attempted to ban IBUSA from drinking stout, Guinness stout, during burial and wedding and so on. You can imagine, until some of always say you don't have that such authority. He was even appropriating people's land. That was how he took a vast land of my people, land belonging to my village, and gave it to the police, and even wanted to collect money without a notice, until I led my people and stopped it. And while in exile, my people informed me that the police has actually paid them part of the money for their land. I took him to Delta State government, to everywhere. And Rapbo, we made the last time I made I was with Rapbo, then Attorney General. I met with Oki, led the delegation of my people, and they stopped him. Like what is happening in ODOGWU today. They will be appropriating land in the name of prescribed authority and so on and so on, which never happened under Nzekwa dynasty up to Ezenwani up to Ezenwani to Iseduna. He even tried it with Obowole land, giving all the quarters abandoned by the ministry, by the missionaries and so on and so on, that he was giving it to Federal Gates Government College without the consent of Obowole people. When these are not, your duty is to represent IBUSA in external matters and come back to brief IBUSA during our General Assembly. Is IBUSA. That is your function, and not to be creating artificial chieftaincy titles here and there, wearing fake title and fake beasts and so on and so forth. So IBUSA has to stand firm this time, because if those elders are dead, their spirits are still with us today, and it's on the threshold of their spirits that I'm doing this battle to bring sanity back to IBUSA, traditional sanity back to IBUSA, for the sake of the future of our generation yet unborn. Let us take clue from our surrounding communities, the good ones who are promoting their identity, their culture, and their leadership, with a leadership highly focused, highly progressive, and highly outward-looking, protective of their people's interests, and protective of their heritage. Let us take a clue from them and go ahead and put IBUSA right. Thank you very much, and God bless you as I shift to the next battle. This is for the meantime, this is the end of my part 4. We move to the part 5 next time. Thank you and goodbye.